What's going on, guys? Kevin Cage here with another crypto update. I really hope you watch this entire video. We're going to dive into the Bitcoin price chart, comparing previous cycles and looking at similarities, because what Bitcoin does this year is going to determine the moves for alts. I know looking at alt charts and doing price predictions and looking at Fibonacci extensions are fun, but it doesn't matter. What matters is the higher Bitcoin goes. The difference between Bitcoin topping at 80,000 or topping out well above 150,000 is a huge deal, and that's going to determine the ROI or potential for alts. So I'll do my best to make this video easy to understand, and I really hope you enjoy. And a huge thank you to all that hit the like button and turn on the bell for notifications. Alright, so first up, this is the most important for the altcoin market, what Bitcoin does. When Bitcoin is well into all-time highs, alts typically have a higher rate of return. Until then, it's just noise. And I'm referring to 2024 being the next cycle, like the three previous cycles or three large bull runs into all-time highs that we've seen over the past 10 years. So we already posted and have gone over multiple times a while back altcoins performance when Bitcoin is blasting into all-time highs, even looking at last cycle, looking at the performance of high caps, mid caps, even down to low caps and micro caps. Some did a 50x, some did a 5 to 10x return. Only after when Bitcoin was already pushing into new highs in 2017, even 2020 into early 2021. So today we've had some daily candles and monthly wick into all-time highs, but we've not had a monthly or a weekly close above the previous cycle top like last cycle. So we're going to look at the Bitcoin price chart in 2020 and 2017 when we first got into an all-time high price and came back down before later going higher, and look for any similarities that we can see today. So friendly reminder, guys, this is not financial advice. I'm showing you my opinion and my looks of the previous cycles and why I personally believe that this is the next cycle and Bitcoin goes significantly higher this year. And every one of us has their own view of the market, and this is mine just looking at the monthly and weekly time frame, so the big picture view of the draw. We know over the past 10 years, the Bitcoin price chart in the crypto asset class, the markets move in cycles, so boom and bust, multi-year bear markets and bull runs. So first up, we have 2017 when Bitcoin first wicked and broke into an all-time high price, later coming back down to the 8 monthly moving average, this orange line, and then powering back up, drawing its first major move shortly after. Looking at today in 2024 on the right-hand side, so both of these are the Bitcoin monthly price chart. We've yet to come back down to the 8-month moving average, or the EMA. Each time the monthly RSI has pierced, we've always created an all-time high price, and we did it again in 2024. In 2017, the RSI pierced, we created an all-time high and came back down a little bit longer, but notice the RSI never crossed below 70, so it stayed in overbought where the momentum was higher. So looking at today, Bitcoin is pulling back, we are coming back down. I do not want to see the April monthly candle close with RSI below 70. If the Bitcoin price chart ends up holding the $60,000 zone, even better, but I do not want us to fall below the 8-month moving average or the 21-week EMA, anywhere between 53 to 57K. Looking at the previous cycle, at the end of this month, I would like to see the monthly RSI maintain above 70. Notice last cycle in 2020, we backtested this 8-month moving average or the EMA multiple times, but we never had any sizable pullback, and the monthly RSI just ran all the way up to 90 plus. So we have other similarities for 2020, but right now, just comparing the monthly RSI, it looks more like 2017. So I'm looking at the previous cycles because we've already shared the number of confluences there have been during previous cycles. I don't care if people think it's silly. We've shown the 618 Fibonacci retracement before the halving during the previous cycles. We've shown the monthly RSI piercing into new highs, where the price chart pierced into new highs, the exact same count as last cycle. I explain the importance of closing the first weekly candle above the 50% Fibonacci retracement, meaning that we've historically headed right to an all-time high price, which we did again. Along with the importance of the monthly RSI piercing 70, we've been talking about this for a very long time, historically always leading into an all-time high. So we know that absolutely anything is possible, but I have never seen Bitcoin wick into an all-time high price during the previous 3 cycles and not go later significantly higher. So I see some talks about going into the halving and after the halving, Bitcoin crashing after the halving, but I personally don't care about that because we're at higher retracement. So I'm just eyeing and waiting for us to break into the cycle high like we did here in 2013, like we did here in early 2017, taking out the previous cycle top. When Bitcoin is running into new cycle highs, that's when we see the highest ROI for altcoins. And yes, there are crashes on the way up. We can find common 30-40% crashes all the way up as soon as my chart loads here. So right here, we got like a 30% crash. We already shared in previous videos, alts even crashing 50% to 60% during the bull run. But the biggest moves for the altcoin market in a variety of assets were when Bitcoin was already well above its previous cycle top, and we're not there yet. So bottom line, the higher the Bitcoin price chart holds, the better, but I am open to pullbacks or wicks to any of these retracements like the 618 to the 786. In 2017, after creating an all-time high, we did backtest the 8 EMA on the monthly time frame along with the 786. And here we have in 2020 on the monthly price chart, there were no major pullbacks like we saw in 2017. So Bitcoin drew multiple back-to-back monthly candles in the green. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now let's look at 2017 and 2020 when we first created an all-time price and compare it to today. In 2017, we wicked into an all-time price. We even had some weekly closes above this level, but later came back down to the 21-week EMA, also the 786 with candle bodies. It took about 2 months for us to blast past the previous high. Notice the retracement to the 618 like we did right there, and we did wick into an all-time price. We've not had any major move to the upside, really around that 73 to 74K level up there. So once we get, or if we see that first major move above that level, I get excited. So on the weekly chart, 2017 took about 60 days, and we're right around 28 days per the weekly chart. If we work our way down to the daily price chart in 2017 when Bitcoin first took out its previous cycle high all the way back there, we can see we were at all-time highs for a little bit, but we did come back down to the 786, later powering up and taking out that cycle high 2 months later. So we can look for similarities in the structure around the 618 like we got here, and just looking at this, awaiting for a big move to the upside for Bitcoin if we were to follow the previous cycles, which is what I want. So in 2017, it took about 2 months after creating a high, coming back down, and then blasting. In 2020 was a lot faster, roughly 2 weeks on the weekly time frame. We wicked into an all-time price, we came back down, but really not much, and we blasted much sooner. Looking at the daily for 2020, we never had daily closes above this level, but we did in 2017. Notice in 2017, we did get into an all-time high, have some daily closes, and then crash. So I wanted to share this with you guys because this is something I'm looking at to keep my expectations in check and just stay patient because we don't know the length of any of these draws. So hopefully everything I just shared makes sense. I know I've gone over a lot of this in previous videos. For anybody new, you can check those out. But we don't know if we're going to hold like we did in 2020. Let me find it really quick. See how we had this structure? We did wick below the 21-day EMA and just exploded. I would love that. But structurally, looking at 2017, we did come down a little bit more and a little bit longer, just ranging with boredom before going higher. So the more the price chart draws, the more data we're going to have, but I'm just personally seeing how we're going to range in the structure and awaiting us to take out our previous high around the 73K level, almost 74K with the wick. It's highly probable it's not going to draw the exact same, but I'm looking for a rhyme, especially when I'm looking at the weekly and monthly timeframes. And historically, for altcoins to have the greatest ROI and actually rocket and have a chance to retrace to much higher levels or previous levels of resistance, potentially all-time highs for some, we need Bitcoin going well above its previous cycle top like we saw in 2020. When and if we see Bitcoin do that again, I'm going to be super excited, even if some assets are crashing 30% or even 40%, because what comes next historically means that alts play catch-up. I know some projects like Link were creating all-time highs well before Bitcoin even blasted into its cycle top, and Doge actually ran really well with Bitcoin. But there were alts like HBAR, when Bitcoin blasted into new highs, taking out its previous cycle top, it crashed, it ranged, it chopped for a while. And measuring the ROI of Bitcoin from its cycle top to its high, and even HBAR going to an all-time price, the ROI in this asset was significantly more. And here's an example of XRP versus Bitcoin in 2017. So Bitcoin broke into an all-time high. It started moving. Don't get me wrong, it had a great ROI, roughly 14x. But a lot of assets, when Bitcoin actually blasted, had a much higher ROI. We know we got a strong retracement, but XRP here did over a 60x return, significantly more than what Bitcoin did. And what we've historically seen, whenever Bitcoin finds its cycle top like it did at the top in December of 2017, a couple weeks later, alts got one more big move to the upside. We saw this in January 2018 for XRP, ADA, etc. And at least historically, that's when it's time to get the heck out. So here we have the Bitcoin price chart looking at the previous 2 cycles, just a big picture view of the weekly time frame. Looking at the similarities of the past cycles, we have the Bitcoin halvings in these purple circles. This was the first time in history we wicked into an all-time price before the Bitcoin halving. So if you're looking at these cycles from the perspective of the Bitcoin halving dates that we shared, it's different, but if you look at when the monthly RSI tops until we broke into a new high, it's the exact same length as this previous cycle. So there are a bunch of similarities. It is much more than just the Bitcoin halving. We shared the similarities when Bitcoin first got into an all-time high in 2017 and 2020, comparing it to today. And the only other thing I've shared in the past is looking at these trend lines. So in 2016, we held this trend line all the way up in the 21-week moving average of the EMA, all the way up, even backtesting it on the way up. In 2020, we did backtest it here multiple times with this internal trend line. So 2019 retracement to the 618 and did one more big crash. What's important here is during this black swan, we got a V-shaped recovery and got back above, holding this internal trend line. So I have this trend line here. It's a super loose representation of the previous cycles. So I'm open to anything and I wanted to share this, but the difference is that we are already wicking into an all-time price like we did here in 2020 and over here in 2017. So during the previous cycles in bull runs when Bitcoin was already at a cycle high, we had multiple 30% crashes on the way up. And it becomes a wild roller coaster for gains. There are some assets that crash 30%, 60%, and then it's followed by a 4x return. So if we are going to follow or rhyme with the previous cycles into much higher levels to some degree, patience is only going to reward the brave, the bold, and those stupid enough to swing for the fences. And I personally, right or wrong, am going to be stupid enough to swing for the fences here. It's happened during the previous 3 cycles over the past 10 years, and we are potentially in the 4th. So friendly reminder, I'm not telling anybody what to do with their funds. Anything can happen, returns are never guaranteed, and cycles can change like that. But hopefully I've shared well enough a basic high-level overview of the similarities of previous cycles before going much higher. I can only hope that we follow a similar length to the previous cycles and we're not stuck chopping and consolidating for days on end, because friendly reminder, even back in 2023, we were stuck in a 200-day range just going sideways up and down like a game of ping pong. The longer Bitcoin ranges from say 48K to an all-time high price, the more uncertainty there's gonna be. But if and when we get that first major move to the upside, taking out this previous wick right around 73,500 and we're above, I'm getting excited. Because for me, that's additional confirmation that we are in fact rhyming with the previous cycles. The sooner we draw a big move to the upside, the better. The longer we range sideways or do big crashes to the downside, the more fear there's going to be in the market. So we're going to see what this year brings. I know looking at the monthly Bitcoin price chart, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 consecutive months that were bullish. So anybody expecting a pullback here, I absolutely get it, but if this is in fact the bull run, going parabolic is still possible. And what's important when you're looking at this chart, the monthly, the weekly, we're still in an uptrend. We have higher highs and higher lows. So looking at the previous cycles, we're going to see what similarities we have in the future. The more we draw, the more data we have. In 2020, we really didn't pull back at all. It was just going straight up. In 2017, we did have healthy corrections on the way up. And last but not least, guys, we have Merlin linked in the top of the YouTube video description, the smartest way to track your crypto. I'll also link this YouTube video I did in the video description explaining Merlin, walking through the platform, and then even going through how I personally structure my exit plans. So I'll add a card to this YouTube video so you can click the card and go right to this video if you're interested. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope everybody has a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, I'd greatly appreciate if you could hit the like button, let me know your thoughts down below, and my link tree is linked in the top of this YouTube video description, with all links, crypto resources, and discounts. I'll catch you in the next one.